For as long as you can remember, legends have been told about the derelict mansion upon the hill that casts a blanket of darkness over the town. The history of the house itself is virtually unknown, and even the town's oldest residents cannot remember the mansion's origins. Being an avid history enthusiast, you embark up the mountain to visit the manor, hoping to shed some light on the backstory of this crumbling fortress of darkness. Spooky's House of Jump Scares. I know it's called Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion now, but it's the House of Jump Scares to me. Whoever told them to change the name can go die in a hole. That stuff is dumb. But Spooky's House of Jump Scares is a small, cutesy, funny, stylized little easy game with a simple premise and objective presented right at the start. We are a history enthusiast here to find out the truth behind the mysterious mansion at the top of the hill. Simple premise, now for the objective, and who better to tell us that objective than Spooky herself?
Hello, I am Spooky. And this is my home. Can you, humble player, make it through 1,000 rooms? Can you find what lies at the end? Or is there even an end? Because I don't really know. Anyway, just go.
Equally simple objective, love it. And then you start going through and you can pretty quickly pick up on what the game is. Just travel through the randomly generated rooms until you get to the scripted rooms, and because you don't have any weapon until you grab an axe later on, your method of defense is to just run, kinda. On the earlier floors, you'll get a save point every 50 rooms, and then it'll switch to every 100 rooms, I think around room 200 or 300. And the save points are in the form of a cross on an elevator that goes down to the next floor. Different areas have different aesthetics, and they can get pretty interesting. And then you get the actual checkpoints, which are at rooms 250, 500, and 750, where you run into Spooky again. On the surface, just briefly looking at it, this really is just a simple game packed with Easter eggs and some tongue-in-cheek jokes like the phone guy from FNAF.
I don't know if you want to look directly into the fan. Yes, hello. Hello.
The doors from the first Resident Evil, and some other things that I can't mention right now because those would be spoilers. And the first note that you get from the character that I call the protagonist, not to be confused with us, the player. In order to survive this house, I need to keep writing notes. I must do everything a central protagonist would and hope this is one of those stories. Insert obscure horror reference that no one gets and misinterprets as instruction somehow. Well, you don't have to be mean about it. I'm trying my best. It really seems like it's a game that's just for laughs, especially when you run into Specimen 1. I mean, why wouldn't you think something like that? It's clearly just a game that's made to make fun of all of the horror games that use cheap jump scares to scare you, and it's just every horror game packed into a small, cutesy little game. I mean, in the jump scare thing, it's in the name, but then you get to about floor 60, and you run into your first real introduction to the specimens with Specimen 2. And then you start to notice all the special rooms that you can randomly encounter among the 1,000 rooms, and the notes and the rest of the creatures. And then you notice that you keep going down and down and down. And you realize this cutesy little indie game might just be a little bigger than you thought. I like games like this. They can be casual if you just want a game that you don't need to give too much thought about to play and unwind if you're screwed up like me and you find horror games relaxing. But there's also stuff for the attentive people as well. Oh, and did I mention there was lore? there's a little bit of a story here. So let's talk about our monsters for a little bit. So, as I said, your main method of defense is to just run away. You get an axe at some point, but honestly, just run. Once you run to a specimen, it'll chase you for a certain amount of rooms and then leave you alone, and the amount of rooms varies between the different specimens. Except for Specimen 1. Everything that I'm about to say, Specimen 1 is the exception. There are 13 specimens that we can encounter, and they all have their specific rooms where you meet each one, but once you've met them, they can appear in any of the randomly generated rooms and chase you. So starting with Specimen 2, you run into this guy at room 60, and it should go without saying that he's pretty much the easiest to deal with. He chases you, he's kinda slow, and you can hear him by his distinct audio. He's kind of a goopy looking guy. Floats around, only got one hand. Decent sprite as far as I'm concerned. Oh, and watch out for the pools of goop. They slow you down if you run over them, and I believe those are where he spawns. Specimen 3 is a centipede. You run into it at room 120, the first GL Labs facility. What does GL stand for? Generic Lab. The Generic Labs facility. Catchy. Anyway, you can tell it's chasing you when you hear clicking noises and you see these holes in the ceiling. It takes about 4 to 8 seconds for it to drop from one of the holes, so as long as you run from door to door, you'll never see it. Specimen 4 is encountered in, my personal opinion, the most interesting room, 165, which is the interior of a school with a non-linear hall and connecting classrooms, and it's very, very dark. A lot of them are locked, some of them are open and contain notes that say very cheerful and inspiring things, like, "I thought the fairy tales about the ghost that eats children who sneak in after class was just to keep us from disobeying, but Matsuri is still missing." Anyway, you run into Specimen 4 somewhere around the end of the room. The end of the hallway connects to another room, which is where Specimen 4 appears upon leaving the hallway intersection leading to the room's exit. Well, thank God I read that. I'll be honest, I never saw her when I got in this room. She can apparently float and phase through walls. Maybe she phased through a wall and got behind me before I could see her, but I do kind of tend to sprint through the rooms. And room 210, you get Specimen 5, the mannequin. Fuck mannequins. In the original game, the mannequin is very slow, easy to run away from. If hit while the player's health is a value between 40 and 60, their health will go into the negatives. It's a bar, what the fuck? Oh, it can also make the walls go nuts, which makes finding the doors really fucking interesting. Specimen 6 in room 310, this will be our Weeping Angel specimen. When you first meet him, he'll be standing in the middle of the room, but he won't move. As long as you look at him and keep moving around, he will not move. As soon as you look away, he will teleport behind you and attack. Now, in some of the short rooms, you can get away with just gunning it to the next door, but you cannot outrun him in some of the longer rooms. If you look at him, but you stand still for too long, he will disappear and attack. And sometimes he'll get stuck in the walls and stab you because he's a bitch. It's a good change of pace to the mechanics. It means you need to pay attention a little bit from here on out, not just full send sprint all the time. You deal with him by walking backwards, which can make rooms like this extremely fucking annoying. You'll know when he enters the room when you hear his little wooden clicking noises. Let's read some pages that I found. One day, a strange merchant came to town. He sold handmade puppets and trinkets, and all the children loved his store and his gifts. But the town couldn't support his store because the other shops were failing. The other shopkeepers became jealous, so one night some of the townspeople took all his puppets and threw them in the river. But just afterwards, he came running to the river crying and wailing that his children were being drowned. He dove into the river trying to save his possessions. The townspeople, bitter and still angry, watched him frantically thrash and dive into the river until he never came back to the surface of the water. Although not what they wanted, the shopkeepers were satisfied. Years later, the children of the town began to go missing, and as more and more children disappeared, people began to find more and more puppets in the forest and around the river. These puppets seemed almost to look like the missing children sometimes. Yeah, so that paired with the appearance and the room, some of you may have picked up. This dude is based on the Ben Drowned creepypasta and the Happy Mask salesman from the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And me being me, that's automatic points. Am I biased? Yes. And he turns his victims into puppets, which you can actually see in his room. Neat little detail there. Room 410, Specimen 7, its room is a real mindfuck, but the specimen itself isn't all that crazy. It's represented by this wall of corpses, and it's extremely slow. It just chases you. But there really aren't enough words to accurately describe just how nuts this section is. Outside of Cry of Fear, I don't think I've seen a more perfect representation of psychological horror. And on top of that, not using like realistic graphics and textures to do it. From the blood corridor to the flesh hallway to the giant clock to the actual chase, it's impressive. During your little adventure here, you run into this white cat that says some cryptic shit to you. And there's something especially interesting to me about the cat saying,
"Knowing your shadow can greatly help you, but be ready to see what you'd rather not be."
And then you see a wall of corpses coming after you. Good stuff. You do not encounter this specimen outside of its room, and I think that's part of what makes it memorable. Room 559, Specimen 8, encountered after dealing with the forest rooms and the deer that had enough of your bullshit. Room 558 is covered in darkness, and you will meet their beloved deer lord. And he looks awesome. Especially when he opens his cloak and you see that he's just a floating deer head and ribcage, and under that are screaming faces. That's a hell of an image.
Your flesh will sustain my children. Your submission is inevitable. Why do you... Why do you run?
The next specimen you encounter is Specimen 10 in room 610. You heard me. The parasite, and it's pretty metal. In its room, it'll crawl out of a vent, kill its host, and then chase you. This guy has two forms, one where it has legs and walks around, what? And the other will be the actual creature, the worm. Now, here's where it gets tricky. You can outrun it, but if you stay far enough away for a few seconds, it will swap to its worm form, which is faster than your sprinting speed. And you'll have the axe by this point. If you hit it with the axe, that will make it turn into the worm form as well. Needless to say, you should avoid having it go worm form. Specimen 11, room 710. This guy's kinda interesting. He can make doors go invisible. That's fun. Can also cause hallucinations. Alright, I'll be honest, this guy might be my one gripe about the game. I think he's not all that interesting, and I think his section was underutilized. Absolute missed opportunity. His room is a little fast food restaurant, 100% beef fast food restaurant, and the notes that you find around the area are from an employee writing notes about his experience working there. And the notes are just talking about weird experiences, like his drive-through person getting a lot of food every 10 minutes like he's on a loop, hallucinations about wailing animals, the manager slamming an employee's head on the grill for bringing outside food for lunch. Said employee was fine. And
all that stuff is all well and good, but brother, you could have had the food be people. I mean, come on, it's not supposed to be that scary. It's not supposed to be that spooky. Only just a little weird with the people acting weird, and then you get the food demon. I get that, but people burgers, 100% beef. It's right there. And then the specimen, he just floats after you. Like I said, he causes a few hallucinations, makes the doors go invisible. Slightly annoying when you get to the abyss room with the long pathways, but that's it. Am I being too mean? I might be. Let me know if you guys like this guy. I'll say I subjectively don't like 11. How about that?
Specimen 12, room 810 is, in my opinion, the last real interesting specimen. The specimen itself is the room. Its host, the old man, is what chases the player. 12 is an old mansion that, according to the cat DOS, seemingly built itself around its environment and can choose a random host, manipulating them to attack other people. The wiki says the premise is reminiscent of The Shining. It reminds me of Amityville Horror, personally. And lastly is Specimen 13 in the flooded room 910, the mermaid, who, as you can probably guess, will dive in the water once you get close enough and the chase will begin. And yes, this is your water monster from Amnesia. More automatic points for me. Bowie, I think you forgot one. Right, that would be because that one does not have a specific room. Specimen 9 is basically your Golden Freddy character. After room 51, you get a random chance to get an endless room where the walls start to close in on you. Specimen 9 will appear and instantly kill you. I am not a huge fan of this mechanic, but hey, ain't my game. But outside of that, if the player stands still for 2 minutes or in the same room for 20 minutes, Specimen 9 will appear and chase the player for the rest of the run. It moves quick, it can go through walls, it will not be an instant death, it does the same amount of damage as Specimen 5.
Well, okay, I lied a little bit. Specimen 9 is the final boss of the game. You hear in this radio, someone says, "I'm taking all those logs they keep throwing out and I'm nailing them together." And once you hear that and also looked at its cat DOS entry, this guy becomes very interesting. Specimen 9 started out as just a small skull-shaped mound of clay, and with every failed test subject in the mansion, whether they were killed by the other specimens or they were failed experiments, Specimen 9 would absorb those corpses and grow. Eventually, it was deemed too difficult to contain, so GL Labs tried to destroy it. As we can see, it didn't work. After all of that, now with Spooky gathering her ghost army from the victims that died within the mansion, to include the romantic guy, the protagonist guy, the people that left the notes, every single person that died, when they died, Specimen 9 would appear and take them. It is drawn to death. Who would have thought?
And that's all the hostile specimens. But if you think the monsters end there, no, my friends. That's just where they begin. You also have your unknown specimens, actual monsters in the hospital DLC, and the dolls from the Dollhouse expansion, where I think they really up the ante. But I talked enough about monsters. I'll let you discover some of those for yourself. But I will at least show you the specimen death screens.
Why do you run, child? Your flesh will sustain my children.
needless to say, there's a lot of monsters. So, how about we talk about the rest of the damn game, huh? So there's a little bit of story here. Spooky's father, a character you're introduced to through notes in the hospital DLC and later eventually see in the dollhouse, is a war veteran who founded GL Labs, a parody of Aperture Science and the SCP Foundation, responsible for containing, classifying, and testing the various specimens in the mansion and recording their data in the CAT-DOS system. Unfortunately, he is also the one who shot Spooky when she tried to scare him while he was having a PTSD attack episode, whatever the word is. He killed his 12-year-old daughter. He built the mansion as a way for him to use a combination of science and witchcraft in an attempt to bring her back to life. Evidently, he wasn't too successful. But what about Spooky? You know, the title character. The character that shows up in the game and all of the expansions. The one who gives us our objective. What about her? Well, she's gathering up a little ghost army for her to lead in a quest to scare people to make them stop calling ghosts cute or adorable. She has influence over what happens in the mansion, but she won't harm you directly. It won't stop her from being a little bit of a troll though. For instance, if you get to floor 750, she'll give you infinite stamina. So you can swing your axe all you want, but you can't sprint. This will last for about 10 rooms and then you'll go back to normal. Thanks, Spooky. You also got some arcade cabinets with little mini games in them like Spooky's Cart or the this one where she goes full no Russian mode on a mall. There's multiple endings throughout the game, including the DLCs. I won't go through all of them, but I'll quickly say what some of them are. Blink and you'll miss it. Here's a list of all the endings. Too late. It's gone now. Never to be seen again. Anyway, these are the ones that we'll look at. In the base game, you have the ghost ending and the specimen ending. The ghost ending, you die. And Spooky says you died so tragically, you became a ghost and then recruits you to be part of her army. Specimen ending, you obviously turn into a specimen, which gives you a more obvious hint as to how the specimens came to be. A little horrific, not gonna lie. And the good ending from the Dollhouse DLC, all the spirits are released, the mansion will be purged of specimens, and Spooky abandons her plans of scaring people and reunites with her parents, where she finally rests in peace. You can find notes from various people throughout the mansion, like this person that's all about romantic stuff that Spooky gave a bottle of blood to. Along with the randomly generated rooms are the special rooms, just to list a few. You got one with the brain in the glass, the arcade cabinets, and this Lost Woods inspired room that's pretty neat. Has a couple different combinations to it. Not terrible. Just a neat little game. And ladies and gentlemen, This was all talking about the original game that's free, not including the DLCs, on Steam. Because there's also the HD renovation on Steam for $10 using the Unity engine, featuring a whole mess of changes. The health and stamina bar got some changes. A lot of the specimens have updated mechanics, are faster, and the rooms have changed. Sprinting and health regen have changed. The specimens have 3D models instead of sprites, animations, and apparently it's compatible with VR, though I haven't tried that yet. Oh, and there's another ending. In the options, you can disable the specimens. If you do this and get to room 1000, well, let me just show you.
Congratulations, you've done it. You can go home now, and if anything changes, we'll let you know. Bye.
She's very disappointed. Guys, I would talk about the hospital and the dollhouse, but I actually want to make a short video for once and give all of you a little something to discover for yourselves, if you haven't heard of this game yet. The dollhouse is very good though. But I'll be honest, I personally like the style of the original game more. Maybe that's just me. Like, yeah, the Unity engine gives it a cleaner look, better textures, 3D models, just better overall animations and all that, but I think the original had some real charm to it with the sprites and everything. The ambient sounds and the music and the chase tracks and sounds, I think, are all great, and I think for the first time ever, I will actually praise the goddamn cardboard cutout fucking jump scares, because you might have seen in a few of these clips the camera absolutely spasms the fuck out. Yeah, that's because I'm jumping at the jump scares. Ain't that crazy? Did they scare me? No. Did I scream? No. And that's why I like these, because they're not supposed to do that. They're handled perfectly. They are not meant to scare anyone. They are just meant to startle you, and they aren't meant to do it every time you see them, just every now and then, and they do that perfectly. I think this game does a lot of things really well. I think it utilizes the sounds that the different specimens make, plus the ambient sounds, plus the spacing of the background music, plus some of the rooms with low visibility, plus Specimen 1. I really don't have too many complaints. I think it succeeds in producing tense moments when you're not mindlessly moving through the game with the game muted, listening to YouTube in the background. I think it does a lot of things very well. And I do want you to discover some of these things on your own. And it has a small, decent, little, sad, tragic story about Spooky and her family. It's not too complicated, it's just spaced out over the game and the expansions, which can take a bit of time. Just another nice, little, charming indie game that you should absolutely go play for yourself. Like I said, the original is on Steam and it is free, so you can pick that up and just play, or if you want to throw the devs a couple of dollars, you can pick up the HD renovation for $10. Hey, if you're tired of YouTube not telling you when I upload videos, there's a little link to my Discord server down below. You should go join that, where you will be notified every time I upload.